There's a lot of success stories in Ukraine the last 3 years. And certainly, if we look at the history of Ukraine for the last 25 years since independence, more has been achieved in the last 3 years than in the previous 22 years. If you look at all the laws that has been passed by the Rada, all the programs that the government has been implementing, you can be only but impressed by what has been achieved. It doesn't mean, though, that everything is perfect. It's a work in progress. Modernizing Ukraine have an agenda for the next 10, 15 years, for the next generations. Slowly but surely, things will fall into places. At the same time, there are impatience. Impatience by the population, impatience by the international community, by the donors. And again, I think it's finding the right path, the right speed, so that all the reforms can be done, but not only done on the paper, but also done with implementation. And it's a complex process where the parliament, the government, the population have all their role to play in order for the reforms to be successful. Successful not only at the level of legislative issues, but also in the everyday life. I understand this impatience of many corners of the country, by many parts of the society. At the same time, bear in mind that it has only been 3 years since everything started, basically, or restarted. So I think you have to give a little bit of time to time in order for the reforms to be more successful. At the same time, it's like a bicycle. If you stop pedaling, you will fall. And it means that the reforms have to continue in this positive trajectory. But the start has been quite impressive, and I think there are justified pressure, both by the civil society of Ukraine, which, by the way, is absolutely amazing. I think I've been in several countries, but I've never seen a country with such a vibrant, dynamic, positive civil society as in Ukraine. And this is really an asset of the country. But this civil society has to also give a bit of time to the parliament, to the government to do things. We have created between Ukraine and Switzerland what we call the free agreements that are the solid basis for good economic cooperation. We have an agreement on the protection and the promotion of investment. We have an agreement on the double taxation avoidance. Swiss companies taking advantage and recognizing that they have those solid bases of agreements, they have also decided to invest in Ukraine. So Switzerland is the number 9 most important foreign direct investor in Ukraine. So this tiny country is one of the among the top 10 most important foreign investors in Ukraine. And where I'm very pleased and very honored to have so many Swiss companies active in Ukraine is that they are in different fields. They are, of course, in the field of trade, but they're also in the field of industrial production. And I've been visiting a few of those industrial production sites from many companies from Switzerland in Ukraine. And what is really good is they bring not only the Swissness, but they also bring their experience. They bring their know-how, technical know-how, but also managerial know-how. It's not up to us to really teach country to country, but to have an exchange of experience. The price to produce in Switzerland is quite expensive. So the only possibility for a company to continue to exist is to be always better than the others, to bring this added value that the consumers are happy to pay because they know they will receive a top quality product. I think what is very positive in Switzerland in terms of economic and innovation is the fact that the school, the state are putting a lot of efforts into innovation. Switzerland is a very poor country. It has absolutely no natural resources. From an early age, the people, the political institutions, they understood that they have to focus on education, they have to focus on research, and they have to focus on innovation. Because we believe that the only added value we have as Swiss people is our brain. Something which is quite unique in Switzerland is the vocational training. There is an agreement between the state and the companies. The students, as soon as they finish compulsory schools, they can go into the real world, into a company, at the same time not quitting completely the education system. And they learn in both skills that will be useful for their own development. And this vocational training explains also why Switzerland has a highest level of innovation. Because those people, they are very skilled. They are not just a workforce, they have the capacity and the willingness to be innovators, to bring added value, new ideas to the companies. The new forces, the younger people, they bring skills to the company. And then those skills mix nicely with the experience of older workers, and thus create a positive environment into every company, basically, in Switzerland. So vocational training is something that is really, really well done in Switzerland. Explain also why we have basically no unemployment. We also try to bring, for instance, this idea of vocational training. So we have a series of programs between the state, Switzerland, Ukraine, and a company, Swiss company active in Ukraine. We have pilot programs, pilot projects all over the country, and hopefully we can build on those good experience in the coming years. The system works because it is well organized and because there is also a philosophy of listening to the others. Because at the end of the day that you have to make a compromise. We can be proud of how it is working, and it's working very well. Members of parliament are no professional politicians. They have a job, a normal job. They can be journalists, they can be teachers, professors, business people, lawyers, nurses, whatever. There's a huge variety of jobs, professions into the Swiss parliament. Some of them are politicians, though. They have executive functions in a city or in a cantons. They bring their experience from their working life, from the private life, if I may say so, into the parliament. And the parliament is meeting only 4 times a year for 3 weeks. And during this time, which is rather short, it has to be efficient. So the sessions are very dense, very productive, and they are well prepared by the committees. And this is, I think, one of the recipes why the Swiss system is working so well, is that first of all you have political groups. They prepare their positions inside one political party. After that you have the committees, like foreign affairs, healthcare, social insurance, and so on. And those committees, budgets, they prepare the work for the plenary sessions. And a lot of work is done at the level of the committees. It means that the workload is at the level of the committees, and then the topic is bring up to the level of the parliament. It has basically already the consensus. And therefore we have somehow in our DNA a sense for the compromise. The best solutions are not this one or this one, but somewhere in the middle, because it's important for the whole society. But we also celebrate this year 25 years of diplomatic relations, but our cultural cooperation with Ukraine is more older than this and will continue after 25 years. But this year was particularly year, so we had a lot of cultural activities and projects. This music festival in Kamyanets-Podilskyi, Respublika. I've been there. First of all, the city is magnificent. It's one of those hidden secrets of Ukraine that unfortunately not too many people know about abroad. So the place is amazing. It's absolutely perfect for a festival. It's well organized. Organizers are amazing people. They've done a very good job. When you are there, you feel the vibes. You feel these young people. They are not only Ukrainian. They are also coming from Slovak Republic, they are coming from Hungary, they are coming from Poland. It's a positive development for the region, and I really hope through the Swiss assistance, through assistance by other countries, but also through their own strength, what they have been building over years now in Kamyanets-Podilskyi with Respublika can really be developing into one of the biggest festivals in Europe. That's a little bit the Swiss idea in everything we do in the cultural sphere, is to try to assess where we see already very solid, very good managerial skills in organizing festivals. In Kiev you have the Gogol Fest, you have the Molodist Festival, you have Film Festival, Literature Festival in Odessa. You have the festival in Chernivtsi about poesy, which is unique, I think, where so many poets from many countries, again, Switzerland was part of that this year, last year, and hopefully next year. You have the Jazz Festival in Lviv, which is also becoming very famous, and we know the importance of those cultural festivals. In Switzerland, you have so many amazing festivals of international dimension. The Montreux Jazz Festival is certainly the best known. Locarno for the Film Festival, which is also one of the biggest film festivals in the world. So we understand the importance of festivals for the country, for the tourism industry, but also for the, what we say in German, Ausstrahlung, for the country to be better known, better visited. And those exchange between artists, they are very important, and between artists and population. And the Ukrainian population is really, really good with culture. You know, you feel in this country not only classical music, but in all the spheres. I came almost 2 years ago, basically in October 2015, I came via the Transcarpathian mountains, and then I stayed the first night in Ukraine in my new function as a Swiss ambassador in Lviv, and the next day I traveled from Lviv to Kiev. The first impression, it was a beautiful day. The mountains were beautiful, remind me of a lot about Switzerland. And then arriving in Lviv, I was really pleased by the beauty of the city. It's quite an amazing city. It's a hidden secret, I think, still, but it has a great potential, and I'm sure it will concretize this potential. And then the arrival in Kiev, this huge city for me as a Swiss citizen, was very impressive. This river, amazing, those huge bridges, the island between. I loved this impression of nature that the city is providing with all the parks. And of course, all the Orthodox churches are quite stunning. Speaking about Kiev, first of all, I love the city more and more, despite the traffic. I love working in Kiev. It's a great working environment. Although it was not the first time I was in Ukraine. I came already in 2001 to Ukraine to observe elections. And I was in Kiev, and I was also in Crimea. So at least I had this possibility to be there. Frankly speaking, I'm trying to travel as much as I can in your big country. And I've been to the east, to the west, to the south, to the north, in many places. I was very impressed by, of course, by Odessa and Kherson region. Access to the sea, those beaches, this openness that you see in those regions, the harbors, the ports, the activities on the ports, and this openness to the world. And I think it's fitting nicely as well with Ukraine. industrial potential, but also, of course, agricultural potential that you can open to the world through those ports. In Odessa, in Kherson, in Mykolaiv, you are in the center of the world. You can go anywhere. This is something that, for me, is a very nice window for Ukraine, because it is projecting Ukraine all over the world. Traveling through the Carpathian Mountains, seeing the ski lift and the ski resort, knowing more about the ski culture in Ukraine that you also have, and it was not known to me, frankly speaking, before I came. I thought with colleagues, let's try to create some kind of ski competition in Kiev. Together with alpine countries like Austria and also skiing countries like Sweden and Norway, we thought, okay, let's combine forces, and we find excellent local assistance, cooperation with the National Ski Association of Ukraine. And this is the kind of project I like, where embassies led by Switzerland, but also local Ukrainian forces, they joined all the forces, and you create something which is open to the public. We believe it's very important to be inclusive and including everybody in a society. Society is only as strong as its weakest element. You cannot leave people behind. Children, people with special needs are an integral part of the society and can bring a lot back to the society. So you have to integrate them as much as possible into schools, into sports, and we see that in Ukraine, and we thought let's also try to contribute to that specific aspect, and it was very successful. We had 2 teams, and we will continue to have this special attention focus on those children, in that case, or people with special needs. Hopefully it will be a lot of snow in Kiev to create again this competition. There are not so many cities in the world where you can have a ski competition in the city center. And this is the idea also, to try to portray Kiev in a different manner for the inhabitants of Kiev, but also through social media, through TV, outside Ukraine.